Hello and welcome to Greg's Channel 1. I'm Greg, this is Channel 1, and let's talk Line of Duty, Series 6, Episode 2. Hide and Seek with Ryan Pilkington. So if you haven't seen the episode, go watch it, bounce back, and you can hear me talk about Line of Duty, Series 6, Episode 2, without the fear of coming across spoilers. So, let's talk Line of Duty. So the main cast we have is Kelly MacDonald as DCI Joanne Davidson. We have Vicky McClure as DI Kate Fleming. Adrian Dunbar as Superintendent Ted Hastings. Martin Compston as DIDS Steve Arnott. And then for the important supporting cast for this episode we have Annika Rose as PS Farida Jatri. Nigel Boyle as Detective Superintendent Ian Buckles. We have Gregory Piper returning as DC, Ryan Pilkington. We have Amy De Bruyne returning as Steph Corbett. We have Shalom Brune Franklin as DC Chloe Bishop. Prasanna Pawanranaja as Nadaraja. Apologies if I completely butchered that. Who is Gail Vella's producer, and we can't leave out Gail Vella herself, played by Andy Osho. Now you'll have noticed I didn't say Terry Boyle or Lomax. That is because we don't see any of Terry Boyle, which means that he's made it to episode 3. Whether he will make it past episode 3 is a different story, but he made it to episode 3! Yes! And Lomax we only see in little snippets, so he doesn't have an important part to this episode. So, let's talk Line of Duty. So the episode starts off as we are finding out about Gail Vella's murder. Now Arnott and Bishop decide that they're going to go to Hillside Lane to seize evidence for the investigation. After a couple of little moments where we get to see that Jatri has asked for her transfer to a different police team, and we have her replaced by Ryan Pilkington. Now, you're probably wondering, hide and seek with Ryan Pilkington? Why is this? That is because if you watch any time where Steve is anywhere near where Ryan is doing his best to turn his back and hide away from Steve, so Steve does not see his face. Because, if you've forgotten, in Series 1, Ryan tried to break Steve's fingers off with the pliers. So I'm pretty sure Steve would remember him, even with all the pills that he's popping. I think even with all those pills he's popping for his back, I think it's very much one of those where, yeah, he'd recognise Ryan if he came face to face with him, which I think is something they're going to be building up to when Steve finally comes face to face with him, and Ryan's going, well, I've grown up, I swear. Run! Etc. Because once Steve realises that Ryan is on Joanne Davidson's team, oh boy, is it going to be quite entertaining. So, we get a couple of moments where we find out that Gail Vella was going to start a podcast exploring all the corruption that was happening with the police. For example, the Fairbank situation, we've got Osborne from Series 1. And so we've got a fair amount of that kind of stuff happening. And it feels like her house was ransacked, which it seems that Davidson has just overlooked it and kind of gone, nah, that doesn't sound right. But as we find out, Davidson is as bent as a pretzel, working for the OCG as we probably expected. But not in the way that I think we were expecting. I think we were expecting her to be cold to the bone with it all. However, she's very broken by the fact that she is in the employ as such of the OCG. So, yay! We find out that Carl Banks, the person that had been swapped with Terry Boyle, he's dead with a knife. Who do we know that's quite handy with a knife? Ryan Pilkington. So I think we're going to find out that Ryan was the one that got rid of Carl Banks just because of how important to, highlighting the fact that he'd done his job and now he was done with. Because once they're done with you, you're not going to make it out alive. Which has me very worried for Terry. And something that Joanne Davidson says towards the very end of the episode, that's what happens to a rat, about the fact that Farida evidently got transferred. But we don't know what happened to her. And obviously she was taken away by AC-12 because they think that she's basically just a scorned lover trying to get revenge on Davidson. Oh, damn. However, that does get me very worried for Farida Jatri. I think maybe her time is running out. And that's going to be something else that's going to be resting on Joanne's shoulders. Because I think this is going to build up to Joanne just completely breaking completely. This is going to be one of those where she's going to come out more broken than she was when she started. And it's going to be quite an interesting series overall. So we get our Davison, what was it? Glass Room Spectacular, as Chloe Bishop gave to Davison, which I like that. I want to see whether Buckles is going to get one of those, because I get the feeling that he's a lot smarter than everyone gives him credit for. I now don't think that he's the final member of H, but I do think he is. I still think he's as bent as a pretzel. It's just something about it that he is. He's corrupt. He's bent. He's got to be. We get a nice couple of moments with Arnott and Steph, where he goes around and visits her. And I get the feeling that maybe he's done that a couple of times before, but upon seeing Hastings and Steph chatting, and the conversation we heard, or the part of it, was, "You were meant to call me back, HMRC," and something about HMRC. So, we know that maybe the fact that Ted gave her that 50,000, maybe it's coming back to bite Steph, and they're starting to question her and whether she is trustworthy and whether she's basically trying to evade having to pay tax. So, we then find out that she sees that Steve's got quite a lot of pills in his car, which I think will come back to bite Steve later on. I get the feeling that maybe Steve is going to get called in by Hastings going, "You didn't tell me that you had basically a pharmacy in your car. What's going on?" And maybe he's going to lose his temporary promotion and he's going to get shelved. He's going to get benched. Because if I remember rightly from the trailer for the series, we see him in, your whole kind of what he was when he joined the anti-terrorism, and he's all in that garb. So maybe Ted is going to ask him to stand down, and he's possibly going to join Rogerson's team, which is a shame, because we need the three back together. We need the team reunited. Oh, it's going to be quite an interesting series, don't you think? A couple of my thoughts. I think Buckle, after seeing a couple of pictures on the Twitter, so if you don't want to know anything about what could be happening later on in the series from stuff I've seen on Twitter, this is the perfect time to step off and come back once we've seen Series 6, Episode 3, and hopefully we'll understand what these pictures are all about. But there was a promotional picture that has Joanne Davidson which I believe has superintendent-styled clothes, which makes me worry that maybe Buckles has outlived his usefulness. And as annoying and as much of an, as much as, Buckles gets under people's skin, I'm worried for him. I'm always worried when there's a potential of a character getting killed off, and I get the feeling it would be quite horrible for Buckles. I think Farida's in trouble. Terry's definitely in trouble from the pictures that we've seen, where he's being led away and he's sat in the back with Ryan. I mean, oh, bugger, is all I can think. And there was a picture of Vicky all wrapped up in a towel, which makes me think that the car that goes over into the water, I think it's going to be Kate, Ryan, Terry, and maybe Joe. And I think Ryan's going to save. I think Joe will get out fine. Ryan will save Kate. Terry will drown in the water. And we'll get the moment where Joe and Ryan turn to Kate and they're like, "We've saved your lives. We've saved your life. Now you owe us one." And that's how we're going to get Corrupt Kate. I think we're going to get Corrupt Kate, and that's how they're going to do it. They're going to have her in the car when Terry dies, and the fact that she didn't save Terry, and the fact that she had to be saved, they're going to use that as, "You owe us. Do a little job for us." And we're going to see, maybe they're going to tell her to join AC-12 again, grovel with Ted and be like, "Give me a chance to come back. I know that, maybe we didn't end on good terms, but please give me a chance to come back. I've got something you might want to hear." But that's just me. Anyway, let me know what you thought. Put that down in the comment section below. You can click like, you can subscribe, bells, shares, you name it, you can do it. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody, and I shall see you next week. Goodbye.